Hello and welcome to the show. Now, when it comes to the Hot Wheels Showdown, modern cars have tended not to actually do particularly well. If you look at our top 10, it's almost all sort of late 1980s, early 1990s cars are the ones that go, for a couple of exceptions, things like the CTS-V Coupe and the Ford Pursuit Ute, but on the whole, yeah, the older vehicles have tended to be the way to go. I think a lot of the modern cars often struggle with having very high starting PI. It can be difficult to get the parts in them that you want or need to go quickly. This Mazda MX-5, though, just might, stand a chance of going very quickly indeed. Of course, a brilliant base car to build upon. Fingers crossed, we will have both the grip and the speed, because, well, we need kind of both of them to go quickly around this circuit. We will start, of course, by sticking the car on the Hot Wheels compound of tyre. Now, that is going to jump the PI up all the way to A-Class. That's a big old jump for this vehicle. We are going to want as big a tyres as possible. 245s on the front, 255s on the rear. Likewise, we are going to grab the aero parts. Front and rear downforce going to be very, very critical for our car. We're going to be wanting, most definitely, some big old race brakes along with some race suspension. We'll come back to weight reduction actually, because I might not want to do that. We will want a roll cage, anti-roll bars, and we're also going to grab a gearbox while we are here, because the plan is, if it's going to let us, is to get the quad-rotor engine in the Mazda. I say if it's going to let us. I know it will let us put the engine in the car. It's whether the PI is going to let us put the quad-rotor in the car. Oh, bugger me, it is one PI too high. I might be able to make it work. Now, with sensible head-on, you wouldn't put the quad-rotor in the car. I don't think the standard engine is going to get enough power, but with sensible head-on, you would probably put the V8, maybe the inline 6. But we're not with sensible head today. We're going for the quad rotor, which means finding a PI. Actually, what we could do is just do that. We could put the gearbox back here. Now, it will still give us adjustableness. That is an official measurement of something. We can go back to there. We will want the diff. Yep, most definitely. Now, weight reduction isn't going to be an option here for the car, because we've got no PI left to play with. But you've got to look at that power-to-weight ratio. Still 700 horsepower at 2,400, or near enough 700 horsepower, at 2,400 pounds is pretty good going for a car that we have seen. And, you know, ultra-modern chassis, a very, very good handling car to begin with. Not designed for 700 horsepower, but, you know, fingers crossed it should be okay to deal with it. Now, I will take a look, just in case. I don't think it's going to be the case with this car. Sometimes you get away with having very little in the way of PI gain from the relatively small power increase of taking the restrictors off of this engine, but the car's too good handling. The MX-5, too good handling to get away with that. So for that last PI, I guess we will go for something like driveline or clutch. Maybe we'll go for both if we can get them into the vehicle. There we go. We can get first stage of clutch. First stage, we can get second stage of driveline. We'll go for that. Right, the quad-rotor Mazda is ready to go. Fingers crossed, it'll be a good one. So, we have come to the skyscraper takeoff circuit, where our quad-rotor MX-5s are going to have 5 laps to try and go as fast as possible. If it wants to go to the top of the table, a 1:33.6 is the time to try and beat from the Sierra Cosworth. Now, the Sierra Cosworth had a, I guess, relatively similar power output to this MX-5. I think it had a little bit less horsepower, similar sized tyres, was, I think, actually around a roughly same weight. I mean, statistically speaking, this car does stand a relatively decent shout. But it is all about how, well, A, the power is delivered from this quad-rotor engine. It is notorious for being one of the most ferocious in the power department and making cars slide an awful lot. And, of course, how good is the MX-5 going to be through the corners? You expect it to be good, and so far it is. So far, the Mazda is being very nice through these corners. That's 130. This is, again, let's not forget, on the opening lap, with a car with a crazy engine, and that was 135. It's 170 as well into the braking zone for our Oh, sort of split section there. That's where we may struggle a little bit. Of course, don't have very much in the way of torque with this engine, and low down there is little in the way of power. So if we try and short shift out of corners, which is what I've often been doing with the other more difficult to drive cars, shall we say, might not work quite as well in the MX-5. How do we do across the boost pads? Unlikely to be quite as impressive as we got from the Ferrari in terms of accelerating itself up around here. I will say it keeps it about 189-ish miles an hour. Top end is not too shabby. 221 it will get to before being slowed down for the final corner. A big slide out of that, 37.5. From an opening lap is not too shabby. Not too shabbier a lap time. Gotta watch the wheel spin. I mean, I say gotta watch the wheel spin. It's a very different case with this car than with the Ferrari we had go around last time. Yeah, the Ferrari had a lot more power and slightly smaller tyres, was a lot less composed than the Mazda, and that spun up its wheels like crazy if you weren't careful with the throttle. This one, it's not so much the traction out of the corners, it's sort of me trying to be a little too brave or be a little bit too overeager with the gear selection, shall we say, getting around some of these corners. We can certainly deal with the power in terms of putting it down onto the road. If you can do it with the 166, we can do it with this. But the back end suddenly breaking loose when we come round a corner can catch you out. It's going to lose you a fair amount of time. Are we going to be able to get on the power nice and early there? Yes, we can do. Up as it howls its way through the gears across the boost pads we go. Are we going to be able to get a nicer run off one of these? No, it's not really liking the secondary boost pad. This one here is not. Yeah, definitely want to put it into fifth, I think, as we head around the top of the loop. It's still, again, as I said, it's still getting up to a pretty decent speed on the run down at the bottom. Do we want second? Probably not. Third gear might do the trick. A 35.6 from the Mazda on what wasn't a particularly great lap. We could well see this car into the 34s. More than that is going to be a, well, potential struggle. Got to really watch out for that lack of grip through some of these turns and trying to carry as much speed as I dare. That one there was not so much oversteer that was causing it problem. I just couldn't get the car turned in to carry the speed. Better through turn 4 though. No big issues this time around. We can be almost flat out. I'm not quite brave enough to be flat out over the crests there. I think it probably can do it. It's just you're always wary of the car trying to burst into wheel spin. So we now head to the crossover section. Get on the brakes nice and early this time around because I had a little bit of trouble running wide. Was a little bit too early on the brakes. Well, we've got a couple of laps. You know, if we can get a good lap in the bank now. Sorry, that would be a good place to start sort of moving forward from. As we're trying not to excite the rear of the car through that long, nasty, tightening corner. Again, through the gears we go. Up towards the launch pads. Can we get a better run? We do indeed. Up to 207 miles an hour here. Stick it back down into fifth. We hold 194 around there. Yeah, certainly nowhere near as quick as the Ferrari, but not bad in terms of straight line speed. 224 from the Mazda. And then, of course, you carry a bit more speed down there. You've got to adjust your braking points accordingly. It's into the 33s. A 33.8 from the MX-5. It's quick, although it's now all got a little bit wrong through turn 2. That was kind of a very lazy just run out of grip from the car. It wasn't a huge oversteer moment. It's just that everything gave up, sort of just neutral steer moment. Everything just gave up and couldn't quite carry the speed. Well, this lap's going to be a little bit of a bust. We only need a couple of tenths of a second. Can we find it? Oh, trying to find a couple of tenths of a second while not losing that couple of tenths of a second elsewhere in the lap is going to be a challenge for this car. It is dealing with everything that we are throwing, well, towards the Mazda very, very well indeed. Onto the brakes we go. Neat and tidy is going to be the name of the game through this technical section. Of course, it's never going to change direction as nicely as controlled as the Ferrari, but it is going to get more acceleration. It's going to get more acceleration out of these corners. The Sierra was also not necessarily the best car through the corner, but good enough through the corners, and then could make the most of a tremendous straight line speed. Oh, that's not good. We are going to somehow say that's not good. We got away with landing it, and then we got a mega run off of the boost pad. That's quite impressive. From the MX-5, often you end up twisting like that. That is when you have a very, very big death of a car. Right, third gear as we head up towards the start-finish line. That's a 35 something. Can we get any more time? Can we get another clean lap without taking a trip towards the walls? It's a little bit slidey out of turn number 2. Through 3 we go, just wait and patience and patience and patience. Little bit of a slide, but nothing major from the MX-5. And then very similar story up through turn 4. Just got to have that moment of patience trying to jump on the throttle. We are flat out around the crests and the hills down there. I'm not so brave. I just don't trust the rear end at the exit there. I'd rather be a couple of miles an hour slower but have the car under control than risk taking more speed but losing the back end at a critical point. 171 miles an hour. That is not too far off. I mean, okay, we're 10 miles an hour down on the Ferrari. Not too far off the likes of the Gremlin and so on, which is good for, you know, this car's a little bit down on power. I say a little bit down, 300 horsepower down on power compared to the Gremlin. So good straight line speed from the vehicle. Oh, just ever so slightly dipped a bit too low. I wasn't quite as quick as I thought I was around there. Can we get a good run though? That is the question here. Can we get a good run off of the last boost pad? Does not look like we are going to here. There is still potential to go faster. The likes of the Sierra set fast lap times without a massive run off of that second boost pad. Onto the brakes we go into the final quarter. It is a very, very good stop for the MX-5. Run towards the line. It's not a better lap. Not a better lap time. I think we had a slightly better first couple of corners. However, the split section I wasn't quite as neat on the exit of, and then we didn't get a good launch off of the boost pads. I think it's a good lap time. It's a good lap time from the MX-5. Has got some pretty mental straight line speed, pretty crazy acceleration, although nothing's quite going to compare to that Ferrari. So yeah, perhaps the speed a little bit ruined having gone after such a crazy car. However, yeah, the MX-5 with the quad rotor engine is a very, very impressive vehicle. As far as the domination at the top of the table goes in regards to the classic vehicles, well, the MX-5 is going to take a 4th place. It is very close now. It is very, very close indeed at the top of the table. We are exactly a 1/10 of a second down on the BMW M3, just over a 1/10 of a second faster than the Mercedes 190, a couple of tenths faster than the Ford Pursuit Ute, 3/10 faster than the Renault 5 Turbo. It only needed a couple of tenths to, in fact, it's exactly 2/10 of a second down on the Sierra Cosworth. Apparently, yeah, this sort of times ending with 2.7 are very popular at the top end of the table. A hell of a car. As you would expect, the MX-5 has got the chassis to deal with all of this power. Slightly bigger tyres would have been nice. There are a couple of times where you're trying to carry quarter speed and it's just neutral steers its way off the track because the tyres have got nothing left to give, but it did make the most of its power, and it could carry some serious quarter speed despite all of the lunacy of a quad rotor engine. And that, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.